I'm Gabriele Finaldi. I'm now the director at the National Gallery since last year. I was a student at Dulwich College between 1982 and 1984. I was at Dulwich in the early 80s, and it was a very, very important time for me because it's at Dulwich that I discovered what I really wanted to do in life, which was to be an art historian. So my first visit to the Dulwich Picture Gallery when I was, I suppose, about 16, because I was here for the remove and sixth form, was with some of the teachers from the school, and we were looking at Rembrandt's Girl at a Window. Well, the sight of that picture and being asked to write my first art history essay on that work is really what converted me to art history and made me want from that very moment to be an art historian, and I've been very fortunate to be able to do that. In the college chapel, there's a rather striking painting, a large picture. It's a copy of a very, very famous painting by Raphael, probably the most famous picture in history, at least for part of its history. Today, probably a lot of people don't know what it is, but anyway, it's a copy of Raphael's Transfiguration. It's a very early copy, painted in the 16th century, and Raphael's original is in the Vatican. It's a very, very important picture. It was commissioned by Cardinal Giulio de' Medici, who went on to become Clement VII. And at the same time, the Cardinal also commissioned a picture from an artist called Sebastiano del Piombo, showing different subject, the resurrection of Lazarus. Now, he commissioned it from Sebastiani because everybody knew that Michelangelo, who was Raphael's great rival, would be helping Sebastiano, would be producing drawings for him, and so it would become a sort of by-proxy contest between the two great artists of the moment, between Michelangelo and Raphael. Michelangelo had recently painted the Sistine Chapel. He was an extremely famous painter at this time. Now, the really interesting thing is, and it's connected to my own career, interesting for me anyway, as an art historian, is that the painting was completed. In the end, it was the picture that was to remain in Rome, and it was the other picture, the resurrection of Lazarus, which was sent to Narbonne. A copy was made from it very, very early on by Raphael's pupils, because Raphael died very, very young in 1520. In fact, he probably hadn't quite finished the Transfiguration in the Vatican. So important copies were made from it from quite an early date. The Dulwich College Chapel picture is one of those. The earliest copy of all was in the Prado, where I was able to work for 13 years, until quite recently, before coming back to London. And at the National Gallery, where I now work as director, we have the painting by Sebastiano del Piombo. So the picture that was the rival to Raphael's Transfiguration, made for Narbonne Cathedral, was eventually taken from Narbonne and brought to the National Gallery. So I see that there's a kind of very interesting connection in the various places that I've worked, and the place indeed where I went to school and where I discovered my origins as an art historian. That brings me right back to the Dulwich College Chapel, and indeed to the copy of Raphael's Transfiguration. Well, it's a great altarpiece, very large, practically the same size as the original, and it shows Christ being transfigured on Mount Tabor with Moses and Elijah, with three of his closest apostles, Peter, James and John, and he's transfigured, so he's shown in glory on top of Mount Tabor. Now, one of the very interesting things that Raphael did, and this hadn't been done before, is he combined that scene, which is a scene of glory, so anticipating the glory of the resurrection. He shows at the bottom a scene with the rest of the apostles who stayed behind. They didn't go up on the hill with Jesus, who find that they on their own can't heal a possessed boy. So you have this double arrangement in the picture, where you have the glory of Christ being shown at the top and the limitation of the apostles down at the bottom. Now, clearly, one of the reasons why that failed healing is represented, I think, is partly in connection with Christ's ministry as a healer. And of course, if you're a doctor, you're a healer. And if you're a Medici, you're a doctor, because Medici, of course, means doctor in Italian, medico. So there's a connection there with the patron, there's a connection with Christ as healer and Christ in glory. So completely fitting altarpiece to have in the Dulwich College chapel. It takes us back to Rome, it links us with Narbonne, and it links us with the National Gallery too.